Ticket Machine is the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. No matter what you need a ticket for, border to border, coast to coast, the Ticket Machine is your ticket source. So whether you need to get into the hottest concerts, the best sporting events, you want the best seats in the house, or you just want to get in the door, when you want to go to any event that requires a ticket, anywhere, border to border, coast to coast, it's always theticketmachine.com. Theticketmachine.com, 517-655-3201. Check it out today at theticketmachine.com.
Congratulations on your new job, Coach. I just wanted to ask your evaluation of Michigan State after you've seen their film. Obviously, some changes, more mobile quarterback, but your thoughts offensively and defensively from Michigan State in the film, please, sir.
Yeah, I was impressed with their physicality. I mean, not that I hadn't watched them last year, and when I was at Purdue, we did not play them, so I didn't get to see them much. But they're definitely, I know they're young, but they definitely were a physical bunch. I think, minus 2 fumbles that it ends up being a blowout. So those 2 fumbles are really that were 2 key points, and even letting Bowling Green hang around. So I was impressed with their physicality up front. They ran around the back end. Their quarterback, I thought, was impressive with him running the ball, and the receivers, I think, did a good job at the top of their routes, and they're physical, and so I was impressed with them. I'm sure Coach Antonio was frustrated with the 2 turnovers, which made it closer than it needed to be. But I really think they look pretty good.
And, Coach, what were you most pleasantly surprised with from your team at USC? Maybe a question mark going into the game that you felt got answered, sir?
I think I really wanted to see how our quarterback, obviously we have a young quarterback, first ever career start. I just want to see how he handled himself. He'll throw the ball better as we go. I just want to see how he could operate the offense. That was probably my biggest question mark going in was, is when he gets hit, is he gonna get rattled? Is he gonna be able to just logistically run our system? And I was really proud of the way he handled himself. And and the other thing was the run game. Obviously you're playing the number 4 team in the country, and I have a lot of faith in our guys up front and our running backs, but that makes you feel good to watch what they were able to do on the ground on Saturday.
Coach, your success speaks for itself personally and your career, but where the program you inherited, it's a different position than most coaches because they're used to winning big games. Do you talk to them about the fact, Vegas comes out and says it's only a 6-point favorite. Do you talk about, we can make a statement that last week, what, we're going to continue that. Do you build on that heading into this, or how do you approach it with your team, sir?
The biggest thing is, like, you hit the nail on the head as far as building. We have to build on what we did last week. And that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to look at what Michigan, we really don't look at the spreads. I don't even know what our spread was last week, to be honest with you. But, for us, it's going to be about let's watch the film. Every coach says, I know it's cliche, but it is the truth. This is the biggest week of improvement for both teams. When you go out there, you know what you have, you get to see the mistakes you made, and you get to correct them. And, our goal is to go out there and be a better team than we were last Saturday. And, the opponent still early on with our guys running our system, to where I think as it becomes more comfortable running our systems, you start focusing more and more on your opponent. And right now it's going to be more about just focusing on us and making sure we're doing the right things. And if we do, I think we can be in every game we play as long as we do our job well. And that's really how we're going to dial in for this week.
Hi, Tim. Congrats on the new job. First of all, I guess the big game environment at USC, from what this program has been through in the last few years and your experience of going into Spartan Stadium, how critical is having that big game road environment?
I think it's critical. I think it's the biggest thing when you go on the road is just making sure your guys can focus on their job at hand and don't let the atmosphere get in the way of their execution. And it happens time and time again. You see it all over the country. And people asked me a lot last week about the Coliseum, and I just talked about, fortunately a lot of our players are coming off a BCS bowl game in the Jerry Jones Dome, and so I didn't think the Coliseum was gonna get them, and they showed up and they were focused, and and made it about the football and not about the environment, because that definitely can be a factor in a game. So with what we're able to do our last game last year and then our first game this year, I definitely think they'll be prepared to handle an environment that's a big stage, a Big Ten environment that I'm sure that they can focus through and worry about how we play on the field.
And secondly, when you talked about Brian Lewerke for Michigan State, what dynamic does having a running quarterback do against the defense, and what kind of things did you see on tape from him that you need to project?
With his legs, I mean, they already have they've always had a really powerful run game. It's been something I've always enjoyed watching, and by adding the element of the quarterback, you have to add numbers to the box. I mean, it makes it hard when a quarterback can run, because all of a sudden, you think you got enough for the box and he pulls it in. You have to have one more. So it really does change your numbers in the box. And that's where, Michigan State was always hard enough to stop just when they ran it straight up. But when you add another body to the count, it makes it hard on you defensively. So, that's the advantage of all. And then, of course, in the pass game, you got to stay in your rush lanes. This guy can pull it down and go get 10, 15, 20 in a heartbeat. So it really does, both in the run game and the pass game, it makes it more difficult. You have to be more disciplined, and you got to make sure you account for the one extra thing that could happen on every play. What if the quarterback doesn't give it and pulls it and comes around this side? So it definitely changes things. I think it makes it more difficult to stop them, and it definitely added something to our offense.
And lastly, Darius Phillips obviously had a big return last week, had a big game against Michigan State. How much of a weapon is he for you guys right now?
I mean, he's special. He is fun to watch. He shows up, as a corner. He's a great cover guy. He did a great job against the USC receivers, got a pick. And then every time he touches the ball, I think that he's one of those guys that got himself to a level that I know that all our return teams, when they know he's back there, I mean, they're dialed in. I mean, growing up in Chicago, watching Devin Hester return, I mean, the guys played hard when he was back there. And I feel like our guys do the same thing, because they know every time the ball's punted or kicked, we got a guy back there that's pretty special. And I think it affects the guys around him, and they're giving up. I mean, every extra effort ounce they have to give him just a little bit more space, because they know what he can do with that space.
Hey, Tim, I know Michigan State's quarterback is fairly new, but you're starting a guy last week who hadn't played at all. And while the passing numbers weren't great, how important was that for him just to kind of get his feet wet, get that experience going into another game against a defense that has, had its problems defending the pass lately?
It's huge. I thought it was such a big week for him. I answered the question earlier about what was the biggest thing. I mean, watching him go through the trials of a quarterback, at that level on that field against USC was going to be huge, just to see how he reacted to things. I mean, he threw 2 balls away. He had 3 drops. One drop turned out to be a pick six as it ricocheted off the chest of one of our receivers. So his numbers weren't great, but his decision making was really good. I mean, throwing the ball away, pulling it down and running, even took a sack one time, because it was probably the best thing for him to do at that moment. And that's really what we need him to do, is just be a decision maker, and he'll get better. Our receiving core will get better every single day. We have to rely on a running game while we build our passing game, and, but that was a big question answered as far as, can he make the decisions? Because that's really how it starts. So every quarterback starts as a decision maker and eventually becomes a game changer. But they have to start as a decision maker first, or it doesn't matter how talented you are, you're going to hurt your team. So we were really happy with the way he came out of that game. He's got to continue to do it and show he can do it week by week. But that'll be a big thing moving forward, is try to continue to expand our passing game.
Thanks, Coach.